Samuel was so eager to get home to his new wife. But if he had known that stepping into his house would destroy his entire life, he would have stayed back at the airport. When he got home, he decided to open the door and get in instead of knocking. What greeted Samuel's eyes gave him a very big shock. His hands began to tremble, his vision blurred, his chest tightened. Before he could scream, his legs gave way. Samuel immediately fell to the ground. He had his stroke. This is African Folktales with Nsinem. Listen to this story. Samuel and his colleagues had gone to train the nurses on the use of a new diagnostic app at the government medical center, and that was when he met Helen. He was immediately captivated. Helen was beauty personified, but her calm spirit was what truly captivated him. She was so soft-spoken and very calm. Being around her was like being at a spa. After the 1-month training, Samuel asked Helen out and she agreed to go out with him. But she forgot to ask Samuel the terms and conditions of their relationship, and that was one thing she would regret big time. At the time, he was a new recruit, but 3 years after, Samuel had gotten promoted at the office and his pay had increased. Love was sweet, and Helen could swear that her relationship with Samuel was the best thing to happen since sliced bread. But one day, something shocking happened. Samuel took ill, very ill. At first, they thought it was malaria, and so they treated malaria, but it got worse.
Ellen insisted Samuel quit self-medication. She told him to get tested to ascertain what was wrong with him, but he didn't listen. He started taking typhoid fever medications. One day, he collapsed at the office and he was rushed to the hospital. There, he was given a proper evaluation, and it was discovered that he had kidney failure and he needed a transplant. Samuel was able to sell 2 lands he had bought, and he borrowed some money to make up the amount needed. Then the issue of the donor sprung up. While Samuel waited for a compatible kidney, his situation got worse. Then, without telling any of her family members, Ellen got tested. And shockingly, she was a match. She donated one of her kidneys to her boyfriend and nobody knew about it. Apart from Samuel, Ellen, and the doctor, nobody else knew about the huge sacrifice she had made. Everyone who had seen the 2 lovebirds would have sworn they would make a great partner, except for Ruth, Ellen's younger sister. Ruth told her sister to ask Samuel where the relationship was headed, but Ellen felt asking would make her look desperate. After that discussion with her sister, for the first time in 3 years, Ellen felt fear creeping into her heart. What if she was only passing time in Samuel's life? With every passing month, Ellen became even more anxious. One night, she asked her boyfriend, "Do you really love me?" The question caught Samuel off guard. "Of course I love you," Samuel replied.
Helen drew closer. "Then why haven't you introduced me to your mom?" "We have been together for 3 years," Helen said. So, a month after, Samuel took Helen to his village to introduce to his mom. The older woman smiled warmly when she saw the 2 lovebirds. She served them food and complimented Helen on how beautiful she was. Then she told her son to come help her bring down a box from the top of the wardrobe. Immediately, Samuel entered his mother's room. She drew him close to herself. "I don't know what you are doing with that girl, but it ends today." "You can't marry that girl," Samuel's mother stated. That was the last thing Samuel had thought his mother would say. "Mommy, I have been with her for 3 years now. She is a very nice and supportive woman," Samuel said. Samuel said, trying to convince his mother. Samuel's mother drew even closer. "Forget all those things she is doing now. All those things they do to catch a man, then they show you their true character. They are all pretenders." "Mommy, Helen is not like that," Samuel cut in. "Will you shut your mouth? What do you know about women? Those women in the city that are all feminists, they don't cook for their husbands. They are not submissive at all. I know her type," Samuel's mother said.
The discussion was getting long and very difficult for Samuel. "She is not like those women. You just met her," Samuel said. Rita, Samuel's mother, looked her son in the face and said the words Samuel feared to hear. "It will be over my dead body. I have a girl I have kept for you. When you get back home, disengage from her immediately and come back and marry the girl I have kept for you," Rita said before walking out. The ride home was very difficult for Samuel, especially since he was a certified mama's boy. His mother's approval was everything to him. So one evening, after a delicious meal with Helen, he told her they had to go their separate ways. Helen started crying immediately, begging him to reconsider, asking him if she had done anything wrong. She was ready to apologize, but Samuel's mind was made up. The reality of the breakup had not sunk in yet, but the day it did, it came like a heavy knock on her head. Helen had stayed away from Samuel for a few weeks, hoping he would miss her and come begging. But after 2 weeks of no communication, Helen decided that it was time. If the mountain will not come to Mohammed, then Mohammed must go to the mountain. Helen stopped at the market and bought ingredients to cook Samuel's favorite dish. She got there to find a woman. She had wrapper tied around her body. Helen didn't want to believe what her mind was telling her. She asked the lady who she was, and she introduced herself as Samuel's wife. Helen asked again, and the lady repeated herself. As if on cue, Samuel walked into the house. "Samuel, what is going on here? Why is this woman calling herself your wife?" Helen asked. "Helen, look, I never promised you marriage," Samuel said. Those words didn't just break Helen's heart, they buried it. "I told you I wanted a romantic relationship with you. Now I am married, so you need to step aside," Samuel screamed at the top of his voice. Helen couldn't talk, and neither could she stop the tears that kept flowing down her cheeks. "After 3 years of waiting and hoping, after everything I sacrificed for you," Helen finally said. "Well, I didn't ask you to wait and hope, and any sacrifice you made was done willingly. You were not under duress. You are a beautiful woman. Another man would definitely marry you. Please, I need you to leave right now," Samuel said. Helen turned and walked out. Helen got home and told her sister what had transpired at Samuel's house. Ruth was even more shocked when Helen said she had given Samuel one of her kidneys. She advised her to go speak to Samuel's mother. Maybe the older woman would understand Helen's predicament and try to resolve things between them. When she got there, the older woman welcomed her warmly. Helen told her everything. "I love your son with all my heart. Please, Mommy, ask him what I did. I am ready to apologize and make amends," Helen said. Samuel's mother sympathized with her and told her point blank that her son was an adult and she doesn't interfere with his decisions. Helen went back home heartbroken. But neither Helen or Samuel could have imagined the drastic turn of events that was waiting around the corner. Samuel married his beautiful village wife, handpicked by his mother, and life continued. She was undoubtedly a beautiful young lady, a wonderful cook, and very timid. His mother assured him that his new wife would submit to all his whims and caprices, and she definitely did. In fact, if someone asked his new wife to jump, all she would ask would be, "How high?" Every day, Samuel showered praises on his mother for not letting him marry a city girl. But he was celebrating a little bit too soon. A warm shout out goes to Otaivogia. Your comment really did brighten my day. Please comment with your name and where you are watching me from. I would love to send you a shout out in my next video. Back to the story. Then Samuel was chosen to attend a 1-year training outside the country. It was a very sad parting for Samuel. Leaving his new wife behind was really hard, but business was business, so Samuel had to go. Months rolled by, and eventually 12 months went by. The day Samuel landed Nigeria, he couldn't contain his joy. He had not even told his wife he was coming in that day. After speaking with her on phone, Samuel boarded a taxi and headed straight home. When he got to the door, he contemplated ringing the doorbell, but then decided to use his keys instead.
Samuel was tingling with excitement. He couldn't wait to see the excitement on his wife's face. Little did he know that he would be the surprised one. At first, he thought it was just excitement. After all, he hadn't seen his wife for a whole year. His heart thudded wildly, each beat louder than the last, echoing in his ears like a drum in his silent room. Thump, thump, thump. He slowly pushed the door open. The hinges creaked. Not loud, just enough to sound like a warning. A strange smell drifted toward him. Not the familiar scent of his home. Something heavier. Perfume. Sweet. Thick. Foreign. Samuel frowned. Why would she wear perfume inside the house? He stepped in quietly, closing the door behind him. Then he saw the both of them in a position no man should ever see his wife. Samuel's heartbeat increased its rhythm. Then they sensed his presence. Samuel got a good look at his wife with his best friend. But then his eyes took him to the most shocking part of it all. His wife was heavily pregnant. The pain came from his heart and then it shot to his head. Then he fell to the floor. He couldn't speak. He tried to scream, but the words couldn't form. Samuel had a stroke right there in his sitting room, in front of his premium village wife and his best friend. His wife, Nneka, scrambled to her feet, her hands trembling as she hiked her wrapper over the swell of her stomach. Her breath came in shallow, jagged hitches. "Samuel," she whispered. It wasn't a call, it was a plea. "Samuel, get up, this isn't please, don't do this." His best friend, Jude, stood paralyzed. He looked at the door, then at the man on the floor, his face draining of color until he looked like a ghost in his own skin. Is he faking?" Jude's voice was thin, cracking like dry wood. "Nneka, tell him to stop. It's not funny." "He's not moving, Jude." Nneka lunged forward, dropping to her knees beside her husband. She reached out to touch his shoulder, but her hand hovered, terrified of the stillness. "Samuel, look at me." She finally touched his face. It was cooling, the muscles on one side sagging in a way that made her stomach turn. His eyes were open, wide, unfocused, and terrifyingly vacant, tracking nothing. A thin line of saliva pulled at the corner of his mouth. They both rushed Samuel to the hospital, and there they found out Samuel had a stroke. After months of physiotherapy, Samuel was able to walk with a stick, but his problems were very far from over. His wife's pregnancy was staring him in the face. There was no way the pregnancy could have been Samuel's own. Then the child was born. The child couldn't walk or talk. Apparently, she had taken something dangerous during the pregnancy because she knew the child was in Samuel's. But instead of solving her problem, it only created a tragedy. Samuel was now stuck with a lady and a child that was not his. And as Samuel watched the child struggle to move on the floor, he finally understood something life had tried to teach him years ago. The woman who gave him life was not the one he married. The one who gave him life was the one he threw away. Samuel's mother apologized to her son. "I didn't know she would be so wayward," she pleaded. "Please forgive me." And then Samuel did the one thing he never thought he would do. He reached out to Ellen, begging for her forgiveness. He pleaded for her to visit him, and she did. If you're enjoying this story, do give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I share intriguing African tales on this channel. Back to the story. Ellen watched the child born to Samuel's wife struggle. Samuel, who wasn't able to talk well, begged Helen to forgive him with tears in his eyes. Because Samuel was no longer going to work, he was given only a fraction of his salary. And to survive, Samuel's jobless wife dabbled into other means of making money. Those means were something Samuel never questioned. All he knew was that she left the house in the evening and came back with money. Samuel looked at Ellen, looking so beautiful and polished. She was a working-class lady, earning her keep. Samuel regretted listening to his mother and losing a woman like Ellen. Before she left, Helen told Samuel that she was leaving the country with her husband. Yes, Helen had gotten married, and was relocating to Canada with her husband, who was already a practicing pediatrician there.
Samuel felt like a dog who had dropped a chunk of meat and ran after bones. When Ellen visited him, she wasn't there to gloat. She was there as a polished, married woman moving to Canada. Her success was the ultimate revenge, proving that Samuel didn't just lose a girlfriend, he lost his best possible future. What do you think of Ellen's story? Would you give up one of your kidneys to save a man you love? If you were Helen, would you forgive Samuel after everything he did? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. I would love to read what you think. A person who abandons loyalty for convenience will one day beg loyalty from strangers. And in that moment, Samuel realized something cruel about life. Sometimes, regret doesn't come to change your past. It comes to punish your present. Because sometimes, the punishment for losing a good woman is living long enough to understand her worth. If you enjoyed this story, then I am sure you'll enjoy this story on your screen. Click to watch and I'll see you there.